Good morning, my beautiful masculines. Welcome to the next episode of my Masculine Talks. Today, I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about something very, very, very important. We're going to be talking about the heart space. It's very important for any man, for anyone who identifies with masculine energy, anyone who embarked on a journey of healing, but specifically so important for those of you who are on a journey of healing through twin flame connection. The heart space, what I mean by heart space is what you understand as your heart, your emotions, your feelings, your softness, love, right? So I'm going to explain to you why it's so incredibly important. And we're going to be touching on this topic today from a perspective of trauma, woundings, so things that could have happened in your life. Like I always say, our armor, our shadows, our wounding, it can come from past experiences or from conditioning. Social conditioning, cultural conditioning, religious conditionings, deeply seated beliefs. And we will touch on as well the energetic point of view. And that's where I really want to start, because before we move into the traumas that you can hold in your heart space that create that fortress around your heart, that lock your heart, I want to touch on that energetical point of view, because this will really explain to you why is this so important for men to heal, right? So when we heal, it is incredibly important, and it's going to be both for the feminines and both for the masculines, to raise your energy to the heart space. This is such a breakthrough moment on your journey of healing, especially for twin flames. Again, I'm going to be talking especially for twin flames because this is what I have in mind when I talk about these topics. But this will apply similarly to any man, any person who wants to heal and one day be aligned. Find your way back home to yourself, right? And be aligned with a higher soulmate. So the reason it's so important, again, you have to raise your energy to the heart space from the bottom chakras, okay, that are so owned to the masculine. But again, it's going to be same for us feminists. We have to raise our energy to the heart space. And like I said, it's such a breakthrough moment on your healing journey. So everything that resides in your lower energy point, so the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, we need to learn to raise it to the level of the heart. And before, so to speak, actioning on it, filter it through the level of the heart. So what does it actually mean? It actually means that when we talk about root chakra, right? So we're going to be talking commitment, we're going to be talking dedication, we're going to be talking abundance. Move it through the heart space. It doesn't exist without the energy of the heart. It doesn't function properly without the energy of the heart. When we talk about your sacral, so your sexuality, your freedom, right? Your self-worth as well, your authenticity, moving to that solar plexus, your willpower, your fire, your internal fire, your passions, your self-worth, again, you have to learn to move it through the heart space. And most masculines, unfortunately, you're not taught to do that. So when you operate on those topics, let's say, of the lower chakras, so when you build, when you talk commitment, when you talk physical relationships, sex, money, career, you're not taught to filter it through the energy of the heart. That's why the distorted masculine, the wounded masculine, the toxic masculine stays on a very shallow level for those areas, right? Why? Again, there's going to be two reasons for that. First reason will be your woundings, your personal traumas, your personal experiences that we're going to break up for you in a moment. But another issue that is very common issue, and you probably know what I'm going to say if you've watched me before, it's the patriarchy. It's the distorted masculine patriarchy who forces us to completely lock from our heart space, especially you, the masculines. You're being told that ridiculous nonsense that masculinity means toughness, means dominance, means controlling, means numbness to feelings, to emotions. Because anything that you deem as feminine, you deem as weak. So you completely locked from your heart space. The social conditioning of now, the system we live in, the patriarchal system we live in, completely locks us from the heart space. Now, for us women, it's a little bit more natural because, again, it's the biology of our body itself and us sitting on a portal to the void and to the spiritual realm, which is our womb. We always on some level create that connection naturally, right? Whereas for the masculines, it's very difficult. That's why I mentioned that on your journey of healing, right? Raising that energy to heart space, it's going to be incredibly difficult for the masculines because most of your traumas will lay here in these bottom chakras, right? And you are more vulnerable for those energy points. And granted, us females, some of us will also struggle with, not proper understanding of abundance, hyperachiever wound, worthiness wound. Many feminines also have very distorted understanding of sexuality and sexual freedom. So we will have to heal that. But it will be a little bit more natural to us, a little bit easier because we naturally operate on the level of those upper chakras, right? This is where our challenges lay in the throat, in the third eye, in the crown. These are more vulnerable for us. This is where we're going to struggle. So on this journey, for most part, most feminines will be a little bit faster to raise their energy to the level of the heart, but the masculines will need to follow, right? And if you go back to that concept that I talk about a lot, especially in that video that I've done to compare masculine energy and feminine energy, healthy and distorted, I've mentioned to you that you masculines, because the physical world is your dominion, you operate on the level of the physical world, those chakras are very important for you. So you always have to make sure that they're balanced, that they're healed, that they clear, and they're very connected to the heart. Whereas for us, it's going to be those, the upper ones. But the heart is the bridge. The heart is where we meet. The heart is where the masculine and the feminine merge into one. Okay, so if you are enabled, not just on a twin flame journey, if a man is enabled to rise his energy to his heart space, he will never be able to truly merge with his feminine to achieve that union. Because this is that level where we meet. This is why it's so incredibly important, and it's such a huge breakthrough moment for the masculines to raise to the level of the heart. It's going to be especially tricky when it comes to that sacral chakra, because this is where we hold our trauma, store our trauma, and it's also related to our sexuality that is very distorted for the masculines. And you don't embark on the journey of celibacy as fast as we do on this journey, right? So it's really challenging for a man, especially again in the system that we live in, to really raise that energy to the level of the heart. And when I say raise, it just simply means that this doesn't exist without this. Anything that you want to do when it comes to your abundance, your career, your sexuality, your self-worth, your drive, your passion, if you don't filter it through love, it cannot be done properly. it's going to stay on a very shallow level, meaningless level, right? And another reason why the masculines remain on that level of lower energy points and healing lower energy points on this journey is because the masculines, and you know that I always explain this to you, your path is a path through matrix, through physical world. It's a path through karma, karmic patterns, karmic relationships, karmic contracts that you have to go through, clear and close. And those exist on the level of physical karma, on the level of our physical karma, of our physical energy points. Once you clear that out, it's a little bit easier to start raising to the level of the heart where you're going to meet us. Whereas for the feminines, because our healing is on the level of the soul, we rise to the heart relatively quicker, and then we work more and deeper on the upper spiritual chakras, right? So incredibly important, because again, this is the bridge. This is where we meet. This is where we can fully merge, and that we can fully find that union. This is where the union exists, right? So now when you understand why is it so incredibly important and what can be causing those blockages from the very beginning for you, naturally, right, from a perspective of society, from a perspective of your biology, from a perspective of the role of the masculine and the feminine and the masculine feminine energy, let's move to, I have 4 key points that I want you to consider, I want you to think about that may be causing that locked heart, right? So again, remember that the first one is always social conditioning. So the first sort of a opening, right, of that heart chakra happens on a very generic level when you realize that we don't really have, as society, a proper understanding of masculine energy, right? Masculine is not supposed to be numb. It's not supposed to be disconnected from his emotions. It's not supposed to be disconnected from his heart, from his dream. He's not supposed to be, dominant, controlling. This is just nonsense of the system that is designed to keep us under control, under authority, right? In a very fixed system, because going from the heart upwards, it's freedom. This is where the freedom actually resides, and this is what is so twisted in this society as well, but it's a whole different topic. And like I mentioned, the topic of the freedom and the topic of sexuality are very important for the masculines, and we cover that in the next episodes. But let's go back to the heart, right? So that first thing that this will be your indication that you have a locked heart, because this is how that disconnection from your heart, that locking of your heart manifests in your life, will be fear of emotions, especially love, but any emotions. You will have fear of feeling your emotions. Because again, it may be simply because you're taught that emotions are bad, that emotions are weakness, that emotions are girly, right? Or, which is a very common thing, where you were not taught to deal with emotions, to handle emotions. You don't understand really what emotions are. And when they come towards me, what am I supposed to do with them? And it happens oftentimes for the masculines. Again, it's a vicious cycle due to the fact that you have distorted masculine energy in your life that will tell you that emotions are weakness and liability, due to the fact that you have distorted feminine energy in your life that doesn't know how to properly manage emotions, right? So usually that distorted feminine would be overly sensitive and would appear as really not managing those emotions well as well. So to the outside observer, it would seem like feminine, masculine, if they both distorted, they both, are sending signals that emotions are not something good, right? So you start to lock your heart from these emotions. We've mentioned this, I feel, in yesterday's episode as well, that there are a lot of woundings that when they left unattended, when they left unhealed, they will cause, they will lock your heart. So we can be talking about heartbreak that you've never healed from the past. We can be talking in heartbreak on any level. Remember that it's not just our romantical partners that break our heart. Your parents can break your heart. Your siblings can break your heart. It's just deep sadness and deep disappointment, right? Because that's how we get our heart broken. So it can be very difficult heartbreak that you've never processed. It can be grief, loss of someone that you've never processed. It can be abandonment that we discussed yesterday, betrayal that we discussed yesterday as well, and a deep feeling of sadness that can exist on many levels, right? The deep feeling of sadness. And when you don't know how to deal with these emotions, when you don't know how to process these emotions, they create an incredible pain in the heart that you're not able to manage. So the only way to cope is through locking completely the heart. But unfortunately, what many people don't understand, especially for men, especially for masculine energy, that unhealed pain of the heart oftentimes can turn into anger and aggression that is unmanageable and numbness. So if you feel that in your life, your reactions are either both of these or one of each, so it doesn't necessarily have to be in a certain situation, right? But if you, for example, went through a very difficult heartbreak, or you lost someone that you deeply loved and you never handled properly that grief, perhaps when you think about this person, grief and sadness is what you're going to think. But in other areas of your life, that emotion will literally, from that locked heart, will be shouting for you to get out. And because you're ignoring it, it will transform into aggression, right? It will transform into anger, rage towards everything. Life, people, women, system, your life, your past, your personal experiences, anything. Just constant aggression, constant rage that you cannot manage, right? And the other part that sometimes they can exist simultaneously and sometimes separately. It will depend on your very individual journey. But oftentimes the masculines, it's like you want to feel those emotions on some level. Something within you is telling you that you want to feel the good emotions, right? You want to love and so on and so forth. And you will be engaging in different relationships with women and you will just feel nothing. You will simply feel nothing. There will be that moment where your poor little heart was too overwhelmed with painful emotions of the heart and it became numb. Again, defense mechanism, right? So I find that for the masculines, specifically on a twin flame journey, oftentimes your divine feminine is the one that moves through that numbness. So especially for the second wavers, if you resonate with that energy that you are that Casanova, that you are that you, something within you tells you that you want love, but because you don't understand it, you look for a very surface level love. So one night stands, friends with benefits, right? And no matter how many women you engage with, it's just numbness. You don't care. You can move past them, you can ghost them, you can disappear, you can completely ignore them because it's numbness. And here it is, your feminine, the first one that you don't feel numb, that actually causes emotions within you that you don't understand, right? So it doesn't happen for all of you, but it's a very common thing, again, especially for those of you who one of your coping mechanisms was that sort of a Casanova archetype and complete numbness of the heart and of the emotions. So what I want to mention, in addition to what I've said, to that numbness, that numbness oftentimes comes with avoidance. So those of you who are avoidant, what you're actually avoiding is what you have inside, is your emotions that you have inside, and it externalizes, so you start avoiding literally everything. And that creates that sensation of false peace, right? So oftentimes, this is also a huge indication of men who have locked heart. You react in a very negative way towards emotions, right? Because you don't understand emotions, and especially coming from women. Whenever a woman is emotional and even healthy, right? I'm not just talking about distorted feminine, but it can be very healthy feminine. So she simply feels her emotions. She feels her love towards you. She wants to show these emotions. She wants you to feel her emotions as well. Oftentimes you're overwhelmed. You feel like she is oversensitive. You feel like she's dramatic. You feel like she's crazy. You feel like she's so emotional because you don't understand these emotions. And you feel like, I don't want to deal with this because I want peace. I want peace. But peace is not what you're getting. Lack of emotions is not peace. The numbness that you have created as a defense mechanism to that unprocessed grief and sadness and heartbreak, that numbness is false sense of peace, because it's not actually peace. When you are peaceful, and I talk about this all the time, when you have inner peace, when you're peaceful internally, incoming emotions don't disrupt that peace. Because the state of inner peace means that you simply know how to navigate the storm of emotions coming from yourself and coming from others as well. Peace means that you stop being like this with your emotions and you simply start to be like this. You feel them. The good ones, you can actually open your heart and really, really feel them very deeply. But those that are challenging, you just have healthy coping mechanism. So that numbness that you create and gives you that false sensation of peace, it's not actually peace. It's numbness. It's complete lockdown from the space of your heart. So those of you who go through that, who suffer from that, you can receive any emotion as something too much, right? Something that will activate that avoidance and will activate you to retreat from a situation, because you don't understand that emotion is simply a compass for our heart. Our emotions, right, allow us to connect to the space of our heart. But when the heart isn't healed, overbearing emotions are compass to heal. They're showing us what is it within us that we haven't processed. Whether that's anger or overreacting to certain things or not being able to cope with emotion, right? Because again, the state of inner peace and someone who's very centered, who is healed, they don't mind incoming emotions, because they will be able, anything that comes towards them, they will just process it, they will just feel it, and they will let it go. And this is where we move to the second point, and that second indication that tells you that your heart is locked and your heart space is really imbalanced, which is the judgment and assumptions, right? So when you are someone, and oftentimes it's very subconscious, so sometimes we have to, this is why I tell you always in every episode that being really self-aware, very blunt and very honest with yourself is the first step to healing, because self-awareness has to exist in order to heal. So when you are someone who is very judgmental towards others, how they act, what they do, their life choices, it comes from a place of locked heart. Why? Because the two most amazing things that live in your heart is love and compassion. And when you have compassion, truly, and unconditional love towards everyone, you never judge others, right? So you can know this, their poor behavior. You can know this, their low vibrational behavior. You can step away. You can put in boundary. Occasionally, you can feel guided to, nudge them a little bit and say, listen, hey, that is not okay. But you will never judge them. Because with every person doing the worst thing, the lowest of low vibrations, you will understand that we all have our journey, that we all struggle, that you don't know the story of another person, right? And when you truly heal your heart, that compassion is activated and you stop judging people to the very core, right? And another thing that happens is that when your heart is locked, you make assumptions, right? It's a combination of locked heart and fear that you make assumptions. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you talk to someone, a friend or your feminine or whoever that is, and they say something that you don't really understand. And instead of opening a conversation, asking for more questions, giving them benefit of the doubt, you make an assumption, right? And similarly, us feminists, we do that too. And I talk about this a lot. It's a very important topic for the feminists, especially in a twin flame connection, because you come in and then you ghost us. So naturally we make an assumption. He doesn't care. He doesn't love me. He doesn't want to be with me. He's got better things to do. And oftentimes it's not the case. And you do the same, right? So you come back, you return to us, you reach out, and after months or years, when we're still unhealed, we accept you with a very open arms, right? Oh no, it's okay that you haven't spoke to me for like 2 years, right? And you make an assumption, well, okay, it was so difficult to reach out to her, it was so difficult to stay away, it was so difficult not to talk to her, and there she is, so she must not care, right? And you're not realizing that you've made an assumption out of a locked heart. And in reality, we do this because we're in panic fear of losing you again. Because again, we are unhealed. This is our issue with self-esteem, right? So whenever we deal with any kind of situation, judgment and assumption is something that is an indication of a locked heart. Remorse, holding on to grudges, right? Holding on to what someone did to you, not being able to let go, not being able to forgive, constantly being stuck in those emotions because you said this to me and you did that to me, right? If you truly have compassion and understandings and you give people benefit of a doubt, I don't know your story, so I'm not going to make any assumptions. And to be honest, I don't really care. You caused an emotion within me. I'm going to focus on that emotion to truly address that. But why you did that, it is not my job to really understand because I'm not the judge of you. Right? So when our heart is really locked, we lack that compassion, and more than anything, we lack that compassion towards ourselves as well. So we tend to take everything very personally. Instead of, again, we make an assumption that it was a personal attack towards us, that the person was wanting to hurt us, wanting to humiliate us, wanting to ignore us. And in reality, they just have a spectrum and plethora of emotions within themselves as well, that are causing them to behave certain ways. And most of the time, they're just going to be acting in an unaware place of sort of an autopilot kind of response, right? This is that that quality within the masculine, that you have the tendency to just look at everything like it's Mount Everest, right? You're exaggerating, so oftentimes the masculines get stuck because when you start healing, when you start embarking on a journey of self improvement and you go through that heart opening, you look back at everything that happened in your past, not just with your feminine, but perhaps with other women, with other people, and you start judging yourself, and everything seems so big of a deal, right? They're never gonna forgive me, they're never gonna understand that I've changed, because you're judging, because you haven't yet healed that heart space. You're judging yourself, you're making assumptions, right? That next thing that I've mentioned a little bit already is holding on to grudges, right? Which is also an indication of an unlocked heart, because you don't know how to let go. of things. It's a coping mechanism that is very also related to self-love, if you think about it, and we will discuss self-love in a moment. But when someone does something to you, right, let's say someone lied to you, or you did suffer the betrayal from hands of someone, and you really are not able to let go, whatever it was, how horrible it was, you're not able to let go, you're not able to forgive that person, you hold on to grudges, right? And it can be from the littlest things and to a very big things that someone did to us, like the betrayal trauma, right? And if you think about this, the true reason is why you hold on to those emotions, it's your coping mechanism, because subconsciously your body knows that you don't know how to put in healthy boundaries. So to prevent you from coming across a similar situation again, you hold on to what happened to never forget that, because that remembrance is the only way you can avoid this. But the proper way of doing things is, if someone does harm to you, even if it's that betrayal, even if it's abuse, whatever it is, when your heart is pure, your heart is clear, you're coming from a place of unconditional love, you understand they had their own story, you understand that sometimes things just happen, you have compassion towards them, and you understand this is your journey, and I'm not the judge of you. You will have to be the judge of you one day, right? And now today I heal whatever pain you have caused to me, and now I let that go. Now I forgive. Why? Because I know that in the process of healing, I also learned, and now I will be able to put in boundaries. So things like that will not happen to me again. This is lesson truly learned. This is karmic contract truly beautifully closed. Forgiveness lives in the heart. If you are incapable to, and I know it's difficult, listen, I know it's difficult. I know that there are people that in this lifetime, they will never be able to forgive certain people. But this is why we repeat this. This is why we're oftentimes stuck in that karmic cycle. And I've covered this in my episode about karma. You can check that out and you can watch that. But heart is very difficult to heal, because heart is very sensitive, right? So whatever lives on the level of the heart, that grief, that heartbreak, that betrayal, that disappointment, it's really hard to heal. But through compassion, through unconditional love, and through forgiveness that live in a balanced heart, you're really able to process literally anything and make peace with anything. And this is where that inner peace starts, on the level of your heart, right? So it is difficult, but it is doable. And this is where we move to that last indication, knowing you have looked hard. Remember I said compassion, love, forgiveness, but not just to others, to self. So a healed heart can only function in someone who loves themselves. Because the first love that we have to embody is love towards ourselves. And there's this phrase that, to really understand how that lack of self-love, because people often don't understand that, right? And people say, oh, that certain things just happen to me, right? But if you are, for example, in a relationship, or think about your past relationships, and now think about this quote, show me your partner, and I will show you how much you love yourself. If you are with someone who is betraying you, who is chronically cheating on you, who is not giving you proper kind of love, who is not respecting you, who is making you feel less, who is humiliating you, who is mistreating you, well, how is this self-love? And many people, they say, oh, this was just life, and I started it with this person, and it is what it is, this is my partner. But you, deep down, you need to feel that you deserve this. Because if you didn't, bye birdie. It will be closed. So through our partners, and this is also why many masculines and many of you, my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls, you don't think you're worthy of your feminine, which is incredibly interesting in this connection, because this is the other half of your soul. So it's like you're terrified of your own greatness, of your own glow, of your own beauty, because you don't feel good enough. And oftentimes you turn around and you go back to your karmic partners, and granted, some karmic lessons you have to embark on, right? And you have to go through these lessons. But this is really where it comes from, a lack of self-love. If you truly love yourself, you want best for yourself. So why wouldn't you want the best of the partners for yourself? It's the lack of self-love, right? And that is something that we alchemize on a level of the heart. Couple of things that also, sometimes happen to people who have that locked heart, right? So we mentioned that anger, we mentioned numbness, we mentioned making assumptions, being judgmental, holding grudges, not really loving yourself. Oftentimes it manifests in impatience. Something that feminines we have to heal, because a compassionate heart again understands and really connects us to the spiritual realm, where time is just an illusion. And lack of gratitude, right, and gratefulness. When we don't have loving and compassionate heart, we only want more, and we're incapable of really seeing the beauty of our existence, and the beauty and the gift and everything that literally surrounds us. So like I mentioned, it's an incredibly important chapter of a healing journey for divine masculines. It's something that will completely transform them. Because the more locked you were, the more numb you were, the more gooey you will be in the beginning of that process, right? Which is lovely, and it's absolutely okay. And remember what I always tell you, we don't heal immediately building balance. We usually go on the other side of the scale, right? So us feminines, and even masculine sometimes, if you are a people pleaser, if you are a doormat for other people, if you allow other people to treat you like garbage, when you start to heal that wound, first thing that happen is that dog out of leash kind of analogy. You go boo, you go dark feminine, dark masculine. No, I'm not going to allow you to treat me that way, right? And then you balance. And similarly here, when you've had your heart locked and you start to open it, you start to feel everything. So in the beginning, it will be so overwhelming. You will be gooey. You will be vulnerable. But it will be a beautiful journey. And you will dial it down. You will balance that, right? It's a natural process of healing. We have to go down, we have to go up. We have to go, through all the spectrum of all these things and these woundings to truly be able to find that healthy balance, right? And when we talk about, what I want to mention to you before we move a little bit, just to shortly touch on how you can start healing that. What we really want as a healthy human being, centered, healed human being, we want a resilient heart, right? And oftentimes that resilience versus strength is when I talk about a lot in my readings, because when you want to protect your heart and you do it in a not unhealed way, you create that armor, because you want your heart to be strong, right? You want your heart to be strong, but we don't want the heart to be strong. We want the heart to be resilient. And this is where this analogy on resilient and strong comes in when we describe that strong is that metal ball, right? So it seems like it's strong, it seems like you cannot penetrate it, but if you really hit it hard, it will break and you will be unable to make it whole again as it was. You can glue it, you can try to fix it, but it will be broken. Whereas a resilient heart is that stress ball. No matter how you squeeze it, no matter how you toss it, no matter what you do with it, it will bounce back because it has resilience. And resilience doesn't come from building armors, from building walls, from creating numbness, right? Resilience comes from feeling, from practice. Hit me hard, and I will learn how to deal with that properly, right? Because people who are healed, right, it's not like we don't feel emotions. We feel them in a very beautiful, deep and profound way. It's just that when it comes, we're aware from the beginning. Okay, this is an incoming emotion. Now I know it's coming. Now I'm prepared. Now I know how to handle it. I know how to self-regulate. I know what to do with my body in order to help it get through this. I know what coping mechanisms are healthy and I can use to be able to self-regulate and return to balance, return to center. And coming emotions, when we're healed, they just simply don't take us out of our center, out of the place of peace. Because it's impossible. Why? Because it exists internally within us on the level of a heart, right? So remember that we want a resilient heart. A resilient heart has to practice. Resilient heart has to feel. Resilient heart has to, we cannot lock it out because it's never going to build that resilience. So how do we start to work on it? How do we start to do that? How do we start building? Well, first thing is that awareness, right? So everything that I said, you really want to resonate with that. You really need to understand that emotions are good, that love is good, that sadness, joy, any kind of emotion is why we come here as souls. Because as souls, without this human experience, we don't have emotions, right? We're stardust. We don't feel. We're awareness. So we love that. And you want to embrace any emotion, right? And you really want to acknowledge to yourself all those things that I've mentioned. You have to really sit down and think about this, right? I mentioned aggression, I mentioned numbness, I mentioned fear of emotion, grudges, judgment, assumptions, again, right? Lack of self-worth, ungratefulness, impatience. Identify it within yourself. Think about this, sit on it. And the first thing towards healing that heart is attending to your heart. Feeling those emotions, right? And it's such a cliche. In a healing world, in the spiritual world, it's such a cliche. Feel your feelings, but it's the best solution. Because when you really sweep them under the rug, they will come back and haunt you. But when you just sit down, whenever you feel emotion, whatever emotion that is, okay? Be it you're now in separation from your feminine, you miss her, or emotion of lack of worthiness comes in, or emotion of fear comes in, fear of coming back, fear of reaching out, fear of embarking on certain elements of your journey of healing, or you feel sadness, you miss someone, you feel that grief, whatever it is, just really sit on it. Even if it's that positive emotion, joy, love, just close your eyes and really feel it. Where do you feel it in your body? Get to know it. Get acquainted with that emotion. Allow it to be. I promise you, you will be very surprised how fast it will start to sort of center itself. Because they come in waves. And when you create that block, you're only building up that wave that one day or another will overwhelm you. And what that sitting with emotions also gives us is the awareness, because oftentimes, especially the masculines, when you have your heart space very, very locked for a very, very long time, you don't even know how to recognize emotions. You confuse lust with passion. You confuse karmic pull towards actual love. You confuse manipulation with love. You don't understand that your anger comes from grief, and sitting on these emotions really help you. Because like I said, you just close your eyes, you start to think about this. How do I really feel? Why do I feel this anger? And if you really allow it to speak to you, it will tell you, listen, I'm not anger, I'm just grief. But you weren't listening. So I had to, knock on your door stronger. And it seems like it's aggression, right? And that emotional awareness is very important. Knowing what you're feeling, thinking about that, sitting on it. Again, it's such a cliche. It ain't easy, but it's really simple, right? Another thing that I really want you to do is to practice that compassion and love of yourself, right? So it's basically on an everyday basis, not being harsh with yourself. It's okay, right? It's okay. Today I didn't feel like doing anything and I wanted to stay in bed. It's okay. Today I reacted with anger towards someone. It's okay. It's okay. It's a journey. Today I was very petty with someone. It's okay. Imagine, again, what do I always say to you guys? That healing through separation. Imagine that your higher self is that, if you want to imagine your feminine, that's fine as well. Whatever resonates for you, your higher self, her higher self, they're both always with you. They're speaking to you. It's okay. You're doing amazing. It's okay. It's okay to have a day when you want to be sad. It's okay. You want to, have a day where you want to be a little isolated. It's if you didn't immediately choose love over fear, or didn't immediately choose compassion over aggression, we train ourselves to do these things. It's okay. So give yourself love and give yourself compassion. Another thing that I believe very, very strongly, it's incredibly powerful, is amplifying love in our life, right? So right now, if you're watching this, it means that you've already crossed the bridge of denial and of complete veil of avoidance, because you're here. You're listening, which means that you're already on a journey of healing. You're already on a journey towards self-awareness. So if you find yourself in a moment that, well, okay, how do I amplify love? Right now, I don't really feel like I love myself just yet, right? I also don't feel ready to love my feminine, and I also don't feel ready to receive her love. So how do I amplify that love, right? Find something you love. Whatever that is. Whatever that is. You can love a pet. You can love sport, passion, whatever you have, football, gym, basketball, whatever you like doing, love it. You can love fashion. You can, whatever is it that, maybe there's certain types of movies or music, whatever it is that warms your heart. What is it that you love? We all love something. And whoever says no, it's a lie. We all love something. You love to cook. You love to eat. Again, give that love to something. It can be, like I said, it can be a pet. You cannot have a dog. Get yourself a cat. They're not that time consuming. Get yourself a little bird. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Something that you will be able to amplify that love. Something that will put a smile on your face, right? And it can be many things. From pets to passions that we have, to things that we enjoy. Sometimes it's living a life of service, volunteering, whatever that is, There's always something that we love, and don't judge yourself for that. Here's the important thing, right? There's going to be people that they're going to love, okay, I'm going to amplify love, I'm going to go and do charity, right? But if that's nothing that you want to do, don't do it. This is where the self-love and not judgment comes in. If you like shopping, listen, go shopping, okay? If you love fashion, don't judge. There is no shallowness when it comes to passion. It's one of the biggest nonsense as well that the society tells us that, oh, maybe something more ambitious. If you love it and through process of it, you're not harming yourself and you're not harming anyone else, literally paint your nails. I think it's very sexy, very Johnny Depp kind of thing, right? Okay? Whatever. If whatever drives you, whatever is your passion, right? If you love fashion, you don't necessarily have to go and like spend tons of money. You can just roam around stores. You can go like spend all your free day looking for like new cute stores, vintage stores, boutiques, right? Because you love fashion. Be kind to yourself. Don't judge your passions. Don't judge. What do I always say to you? Passion is always our compass towards our highest excitement. Maybe that's how you're going to find your authentic self. Maybe that passion is how you express yourself. Maybe that passion is something that you're meant to do periodically, and through that you're going to meet your soul tribe, or you're going to reach that true path of yours. Who knows? But passion shows us always that next step. You want to knit. This is why, what do I say? You have to remove judgment, and you have to remove masculine and feminine. Do whatever makes you passionate. Do whatever ignites that passion. This is how you amplify love in your life. This is how also you learn that self-love, and you learn that compassion towards yourself, because we're constantly judging ourselves. We're constantly thinking that we're supposed to do something more, ambitious. Nonsense. Do you know what's the best thing we can do for society, for humanity? The best thing, raise our vibration for the greatness and goodness of all. And you know how we raise our vibration? Surprise, surprise! We follow our passion. We're happy. We're joyful. We do something. This is how we raise our vibration, right? So if you're a man, even if you're like 190, okay, but you love to knit, or you want to paint your nails, or you love fashion, or you want to sing in a choir, do it. Do it. Okay? Passion. This is how you amplify love. Whatever you want to love, wherever love is for you, do that. Okay? And the last thing that will be the hardest one, but it is very important to heal your heart, is being vulnerable. Because vulnerability doesn't exist in a locked heart. In order to open it, yes, it's important, you yourself, to sit with yourself, sit with your emotions, understand your emotions. But you will have to train yourself to be vulnerable with others. And it's funny, I've mentioned this in my recent reading on YouTube, on Masculine Monday weekly update for energy for the masculines, that how we can train that. If you've had a locked heart for a very, very long time, obviously a hours long conversation with someone from your past who deeply hurt you, or with your feminine, it's going to be overwhelming. So just that resilient heart, remember, we have to practice. So just practice with something small. Start with something small. So maybe you have a roommate, or you have a friend that you never talk about emotions, or you're never vulnerable with this person. Just give it a try and say, you know what, today I feel really sad. It's something that men struggle to do. Again, just tell them, today I feel nostalgic. I really feel sad. And I don't even know why. Don't pretend to always be strong and powerful and numb, right? That's not how strength looks like. This is, you have to understand. Together with us, together with your feminine, one day you will restore the divine order, the true meaning of masculine and feminine. To break this wounded, distorted system, you have to be vulnerable, right? So whether it's a little thing, a little emotion, little sign of what you would think is a sign of weakness, which is not, change your narrative. And be vulnerable, And in that reading, I mentioned, if you have like a group of men and friends, and maybe, through like a team sport, or you go to the gym, wherever you go and wherever you go for a bite or grab a beer or whatever, instead of just talking about, shallow things, and sometimes, nice shallow things, passions and so on and so forth, try being, when you feel the moment with that other person that resonates with you, with that other man, with your friend, right, with a family member, when you feel that moment, try to be vulnerable. Try to say something that, you wouldn't normally find yourself in the past with that locked heart to say. Try to say, I don't know, the last years of my life have been incredibly difficult. I've been struggling. Or, there is that woman that I love, and it's something that I've been trying to figure out in my life. Or I had share something from your past, right? And it's an incredible test also for your intuition, because you, my poor little masculines, you struggle with karmic relationships, you struggle with so much distorted energy that you don't know what's normal and right. So your intuition is completely disconnected, because the intuition also lives here, right? So it will help you to train that intuition. I felt into the moment. I felt something like this person resonated. It felt safe, right? And share something that will be small, but to you it will be that Mount Everest. And every time you do it, you will feel better and better and better. And one day you're going to do it with someone who's not going to be that receptive. But it will also teach you not to judge and not to make assumptions. However they will react, maybe it's not their day, maybe it's something that is sensitive to them, maybe they don't want to be vulnerable with me or listen to my story, they have their boundaries, it's their right. Without assumption, I've gave it a try and it's okay, right? And it's a really powerful exercise. All right, I hope this was helpful. I love you so incredibly much, and I'm proud of you, and you know this. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or if you feel you prefer to ask them personally, you can reach out to me via Instagram, direct message. Link is in the description box. And if you feel ready, you can always book a session with me. And if you've never had a session with me, yes, I am a psychic medium. I am a shadow worker. I do use tarot as divination tool. But with my masculines, whatever you feel comfortable. If you just feel like talking, I will talk. If you don't feel ready for talking to spirit, although spirit always speaks through me, we can just talk. If you don't feel ready for shadow work, if you don't feel ready for tarot, if you don't feel ready for channeling, we can just talk. Whatever you need. My life of service, my life's purpose is to unlock the hearts of the masculines. So I'm here if you need me. I hope this was helpful. I hope it triggered something within you. I'm sorry for my crazy hair today. I cannot bear to watch. But it is what it is. We move. It doesn't matter. You're not supposed to look at me. You're supposed to hear to what I have to say. And feel in to my vibration. I love you so incredibly much. I am very, very proud of you. You're doing amazing. If you actually reach to the end of this video, this means that you're doing great. You're doing great. It means that you're so ready to heal. You're so open to heal. You're so eager to change that you've made it through an hour or however long it was video about heart space. How amazing is that? You're doing better than you think.